Hi, gangs. Dauna here. We are here with Clairissa SinClair at Author Chat, and she has a new book coming out, which I'd like to congratulate her. The book comes out June 20th, 2020, called Lotus Empowered. You also have another new release coming in August from the Woman in Time series.
Noisy Chihuahua.
That's okay. We all have lives. Cammy? In response. Anyway, let's talk about Lotus Empowered first. It seems to be connecting with readers from what I've seen online. And considering all that's going on, maybe a little timely since it appears to be a story about the end of the world as we know it. So
it is. No virus, though.
No virus. But so tell us a little bit about the story and what's going on with it.
Sorry. No virus and no zombies. Okay.
Okay.
This is a direct result of watching too many episodes of Naked and Afraid on a rainy day and really seeing how strong some of the women were that managed to survive, especially on their own. You know, their partner gets bug bite and taps out, and they survive 17 days eating bugs. So I really kind of took that and made a composite of all these fascinating women, and they became Lotus, and Lotus is the one that keeps everybody around her alive. She kind of is the alpha female of their tribe. It's a reverse harem, which is my first one. I mean, I've done the triad, which was a three-way, but this is so it's a whole new take on things. I did tons of research on, edible plants and survival technique and, how to live basically in a more primitive society. So I think it's pretty factual and pretty intense, and it still has a few really hot scenes.
So, I mean, this is a little off of where we had talked, where we were going with the interview, but you bring up a good point about research. How important is research to you in your stories?
Research is huge to me. It doesn't matter what kind of story I'm working on. I want it to be Zeus. Come here. Sorry.
It's okay.
I want it to really be, legitimate. I don't want somebody to pick it up and say, "Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about," because she's talking about putting a clip in a revolver or something like that. So I really try to go the extra mile and make sure that what I'm saying is accurate.
I recently ran across somebody who, I do my research too. I was looking up statutory rape laws this week, which was kind of it was very eye-opening to see how women in rape were really still viewed poorly up until the last few years without corroborating evidence. But I ran across this other author who's asking about child custody laws. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, go to Google. Look it up in the state. Yes. And she kept going to other people, and it's like, do your research.
Yeah. Do your research and make it factual, because what's legal in Florida may not be legal in New York, or
exactly.
What's edible in my in the area I set my story in the mountains of Virginia is not true for Florida. So I mean, there's
right. So I mean, it you can tell when an author, and that means not only do you enjoy writing, but it means you take responsibility for your craft. And that's kind of an important thing that I think most people don't look at when they're reading a book. Most people are like, oh, I like the story. If you have somebody that's in that industry, then yeah, they will say, okay, this doesn't make sense. But in general, people just read. But I think it's important that an author, and I give you kudos for that you take the time to research it. So.
It's been a long time coming. It's been about a year.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, it's important to do that because, going back to what I was reading, I mean, in 1890, age of consent for a woman was 10 years old.
Unbelievable.
I mean, the age of reason is 13. How can it blew my mind. But it's something now I can look back and go, well, I learned something besides what I needed to learn. Anyway, so your next release is Aquarius in Time. Only Time Will Tell. It's a Woman of Time book 14, which is due out August 11th. Now, how did you become part of the series? Because I saw, when I was looking online doing my research for this interview, I saw that there was a lot of other authors that participated in this. So how did you become part of it?
There was a lot of authors. A few of them I had worked with on a Valentine's Day collection. And they had 16 authors lined up, and a few dropped out for whatever reason. They couldn't produce. They got too busy. I think we're all guilty of volunteering a little bit too much for projects.
Yeah.
And so they had 3 covers, I believe, that they needed to fill. And I fell in love with one of them. I think Natasha at Days Designs did all of them, and they're fantastic. And it was originally actually for a witch story, like a 1700s, but to me she looked like a hippie. She looked like she was, 1960s, hip, kind of a boho look to her. So she became, my character in Aquarius, and I went with 1967 Haight Ashbury, San Francisco.
Okay.
Which is a fascinating and tumultuous time. So that's how I fell into that.
Cool.
I really liked it though. It's my first time travel. It's not usually my genre, but it's been fun.
So that
again, lots of research.
Yeah.
The 60s, music, language, clothing, politics, and who were the voices of the year. That was the year I was born, by the way, the Summer of Love. So
same here, 67. All the way, class of 85.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because I tend to write in the 80s and 90s, and so it's, I mean, I lived it, but I still have to go back and go, okay, what was the slang back then? I remember that word, but those words we don't use those words. Grody to the max, come on.
Yeah, let's forget that one.
But so, once again, it makes for a richer story. You're not just going, okay, because somebody that from that time period is reading it going, yeah, I remember that. So kudos again. So it's more about time travel. What else is besides time travel, what is the basis for the story? Is it?
Well, I think in all the stories, a certain item has been gifted to the heroine, and she either travels forwards or backwards in time. They are all romance books in very different genres. Some are squeaky clean, some are reverse harem, some are, craziness. Mine is pretty simple for me, one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And she's at a fair in San Francisco in modern day and runs into a man who seems to recognize her. And she has no idea who he is, but he gifts her this necklace that's Aquarius. Okay. It's a carved, aquarium symbol, which is the waves. And when she goes back to it freaks her out. She goes back to the hotel, puts it on, and finds herself when she wakes up in 1967, Haight Ashbury. Okay. And, in the end, they both have lessons to learn. Like, her whole life was very beige and very, controlled. And she learned to be more colorful and more outgoing, and she found her way. And I don't want to let go of the ending because I just changed it last night, and I'm really excited about the ending. So I'm going to stop there. But it's about everybody learning their lessons, and in some of the books, the woman ends up staying in the time she finds herself in, and some she goes back. So I mean, they're all a little bit different, and they're all fantastic stories.
When you were talking about squeaky clean, I live in a small town in Illinois, and I've always loved the library, but at this particular branch of the library, it's a small town library, there's actually a sign above this one shelf of books that's like, there's no language in these books, no sex, they're very squeaky, they're very clean, and I'm just like, really? Yeah. But there's a whole section in the library devoted just to that, and I was absolutely amazed because, to me, whatever's in the book is in the book, But so for you, I mean, I'm not sure how many of your books would be in there because we're about to get it. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah. So you have 10 other books for sale currently on Amazon, including 4. Huh? I do. Yeah. Including 4 books from the Nesting Instinct series. These books are part of a paranormal romance series, correct? Yes. And can you tell us a little bit about that series and the inspiration that motivated you to write it?
Well, I think a lot of the vampire books were probably what got me started in reading romance in the first place. Not so much the, you know, Twilight kind of thing, but the racier vampire books. I fell in love with J.R. Ward. Somebody gave me the first one, Black Dagger Brotherhood books years ago, and I kind of fell in love with them from there. So I wanted to make a different world, a little bit different, a little bit more unique. The women are not vampires, just the men. It's a genetic thing, and they're not, crazy killers that go out for the most part, and there's some action. But no, I'm off track. Pretty much in every series that I write, they have baggage, they're damaged by life, and they find their way. So in each one of these books is very similar to that. In the first one, it's, Vivian is a tomboy and a loner, and she ends up, of course, with Declan, her love. It is a kind of a destined mate series. In the second one, Rita is an abused woman who finds her true love. Then there's Delphine, who's a drug addict. And actually, the next one that'll be coming out is actually a male-male story because, hey, vampires are all inclusive. Yeah. So this one I'm kind of excited about, too, and that one I'm hoping to get out this year. It's done. It just needs editing, so we'll be getting there. But it's still pretty hot and steamy. I mean, I don't think I know how to write any, Harlequin. I don't think that's in my...
That's okay. I mean, I'm sure there's enough Harlequin writers out there that it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So Blindfolded was a book that was released earlier this year. Tell us a little bit about that one. That certainly seems very steamy from what I gleaned from
that was my Nano project. That started last November 1st when I decided to do NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month for anybody who isn't aware of that. And you have 30 days to write 50,000 words. And I honestly have no idea where it came from. I just started writing, and that's what came out. It's pretty interesting. The premise is she fell in love with somebody she's never actually seen because when he comes to her and he's very dominant, she's blindfolded. And the funny side story that goes along with that is that's my daughter Emily on the cover. She volunteered for that job. I needed a blindfolded picture. I couldn't find what I needed, so her and her sister put that together. So.
When I redid my cover for my days, my husband's actually the one that's on the cover with the guitar. So I totally understand.
Not the only one.
No,
yeah.
No. I was like, look, I got an idea. You're gonna do it. He's like, okay.
Nobody will know. But now she tells everybody that that's her on the cover. She's quite proud of that. So.
Nice, very nice. So one of the reviews said that your book was hot and she couldn't turn the pages fast enough. How does that make you feel being a self-proclaimed super smut writing woman?
Super smut writing woman. I love it. We live for reviews as indie writers. If we don't have the reviews, then we don't get the feedback that we need. And, to hear somebody say that, it's like, hey, I must have been doing something right. It's hard to get good reviews from people.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's okay. Or they'll just, on Goodreads leave stars with no words. Like, why did you hate it? Why did you love it? Tell me. And we want to hear it, even if it's negative. Even if it's, I thought there were big plot holes in it. I want to know so I can go in and rethink it maybe. So I'm thrilled when I read things like that, even if they're not as flattering as that one is.
Well, it's... I had a 3-star, and the girl said she hated the character. She hated everything, but she couldn't believe she finished the book, and she gave me 3 stars. And I'm like, okay. Firstly, if you hated them, you still connected with it emotionally, and I still pushed you enough to finish the book. So, but I mean, it was like a 2-sentence review, and I was kind of like, so why did you hate it?
Yeah, tell me why.
But looking at her other books she reviews, she likes the happily ever afters. And My Days is not a happily ever after book, so,
You can't please everyone.
No, and that was one of those books like yours that just came to you, and you just, I went with it. It's not for everybody, though.
No, it's definitely not for everybody.
No. So is there anything that you consider too far out there that you wouldn't write about when it comes to sex?
Well, I stay away from the really pervy things. Anything involving animals and old people, I guess, or children, the big ones. But I've been working on a book that I'm hoping to have out at the end of the year. I was calling it porn, but I've kind of changed the name to Side Hustle. It's about a 911 operator, which is a job that I did and I'm very familiar with. And it sucks. But he's not making enough money, so he starts doing fetish porn on the side to pay the bills because, they have a better 401k. So he does all sorts of bizarre, again, a lot of research. Nobody ever wants to read my browsing history because they're going to think I'm either a perv or a serial killer or both.
Yes.
But, he did some granny porn, he did some foot fetish porn, he did some furries, he did some, just crazy alien porn, that's apparently a porn thing that was aliens.
Do you know that there are dino porn books on Amazon?
I have read them because somebody else told me that, and I was blown away by what I read. With a Sasquatch, there's apparently some Sasquatches out there too who like to expand your horizons.
No, when I read
somebody, my theory is no matter what it is, somebody out there is like, ooh, okay.
This has got me going. Yeah, I mean, my friend and I, one of my friends had come over, and she's a writer, and I'm like, do you know there's dino porn? And she's like, no. So I went on, and I read the excerpt to her, and we were both dying laughing, and she's like, I said, it's only 35 pages, and it's $2.99. She's like, somebody's actually going to buy it? I'm like, oh, yeah.
I bought it just so I could read it, and it was like, when they were describing his green, scaly penis, I had tears rolling down my face. Like, somebody is thinking that's hot. And that's the craziest thing to me. But hey, everybody has a fetish.
It's great comedy too for anybody that's not into it. So
I agree. So are furries. You got to really be into that to find that erotic.
Yeah. So. Well, and then you got to ask the writer, what possessed you?
Yeah, where was your motivation?
Yeah. Were you a dinosaur fan as a kid? Anyway. You have an extensive catalog on Amazon, as we talked about. Is there a favorite book or series that you've written that we didn't discuss?
I really love The Evolution of Jules, which was my first book. And one of my very good friends writes not squeaky clean, but almost squeaky clean westerns. Like, old-time Western series. And we worked together at 911. And she encouraged me to just start writing. I'd always kind of dabbled in it for all these years, but I never really put myself out there. She's like, you put it on paper, I'll help you self-publish. So
nice.
That's where Jules came along. And it used to be 2 books. It was The Evolution of Pink Kitty number 462 and The Revolution of Jules. And I always felt they belonged together because I hate cliffhangers. I hate, coming to the end of a book like, what? No, where's the next page? So I took them apart, re-edited them, squished them back together, and made The Evolution of Jules into one long book. So it covers her life as a teenager all the way up, as she's got a horrible life. She's trafficked. She's sold again. Then they're trying to kill her to get to her husband. And, it's not until she finds her own voice that she finds the man she really wants to be with. And she ends up being the hero because a lot of my books have that where they become their own hero. It kind of drives me crazy that in stories where like the mafia, the biker gang, whoever is looking for her, but she has to go to the mall to get her nails done and gets kidnapped again. So I wanted to put it out there more of a she saved herself, not she waited for some man to come rescue her. And she found her own voice in the process and found exactly what she always needed, but no one would let her have. So it's honestly, it hasn't gotten as much, love as some of my other books. So I can never figure out why. I think it's a great story.
It may eventually find its audience. Once you start, maybe you should promote it again.
Yeah, it's pretty. It starts out very dark, and maybe that's off-putting for someone, but it does end up a happily ever after. But the first part of her life sucks.
Does it always, as a writer, does it kind of bother you that, you have to now tag that this is a reverse harem, this is a happily ever after? I mean, I remember grabbing a book, getting the looking at the cover, going, okay, this looks good, looking at the blurb on the back, and then just going for it. I didn't care that. I have a friend that used to work at Barnes, and during the last days, somebody brought in a copy of Romeo and Juliet. Now, it was on clearance, but she wanted to return this. It was an older lady. And she said, the reason I want to return it is I wasn't aware that there was 2 suicides. This is this is Romeo and Juliet. Hello.
No worries. Yeah, no worries.
But
and it does bother me. I mean, it's like I always read a book just because it sounded good, and yeah, I judged a book by its cover because they had a great looking cover. I pick it up. Way before we had Amazon, when I had to go to Barnes & Noble or even,
Borders.
Target, whatever, yeah, and find a book, because we didn't have a Barnes & Noble in my town until probably, I don't know, 2008, 9, somewhere in there. So we had to go to Walmart or Target and find a book, or the library. And it does, because, like, you don't want to know the end. You don't want to know if it's a happily ever after. You got to read the book to figure it out. So.
Right. I mean, when you were talking about vampires, besides Anne Rice, the writer that called to me about vampires was Nancy Collins, and it was Sunglasses After Dark. And when I saw that cover with the purple lips and the black glasses and the red eyes, that was it. I was like, okay, this book looks awesome. I'm going to pick it up, and I didn't care. It was the cover that called to me. And to me, like I said, if you, and that's the other thing I'm seeing too, you have to put a trigger warning on here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really a different world now, I think, for writers, because you have to reveal so much of what you're putting out there before the consumer actually picks it up. And
that's with Lotus. It's a reverse harem, and I delved a little bit into some sword crossing.
Ooh.
Yes. So this is, you have to be very careful and make it MMFM, so it kind of alludes to the fact that there is sword crossing, because there's still readers who read a reverse harem and are offended by the fact that, the men touch each other. So
I don't understand that.
Don't read a reverse harem if you're not expecting. I mean, with that many, sausages floating around, there's bound to be some.
Something could slip in.
Exactly. Intentional, unintentional, who knows? But be ready.
So, let's talk a little about you. Are you married?
Not anymore. I am happily divorced. I
live
with my boyfriend. We've been together about 7 years, and we live on the beautiful Gulf of Mexico outside of Tampa, Florida.
Nice.
By days, I am a code enforcement officer for the local PD. So that means, I inspect condemned houses and, people who leave their garbage out on the front lawn and, all kinds of crazy things.
Okay.
So.
You said you have kids.
I do. I have 4 grown daughters.
One's a cover model. One's a cover model.
One is my cover model, yes. Emily is extremely supportive of my books. My older 2 are in New York, upstate New York, and my younger 2 are now in Baltimore. Okay. They're both finished with school at this point, and one is teaching and one just moved up there after the whole coronavirus. She was living in Orlando, but with Disney closed and colleges closed and no, vacationers, she lost her job, so she moved to Baltimore to live with her sister. So.
Okay. We know you got pets. How many pups do you have?
I have 2 chihuahuas. There's one right here.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get very far away from me. He is my writing partner.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's over there. And then I have a stray cat that wandered in one day a couple years ago and smacked them both in the head, let them know who's boss. And, she kind of rules the roost in a humongous aquarium. So.
Okay. So you like going to flea markets and antique stores? What is your proudest discoveries from that?
Oh, so many. We also sell on eBay. My boyfriend and I have done that for years. And I can't leave something ugly on the curb or, wherever. I have a thing for Fiesta Ware. I have thousands of pieces of Fiesta Ware. I can't even tell you how much. Last count, I had like 63 mugs. Wow. I don't even know how many dishes I have at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I like to find the ugly things and bring them home and refinish them.
Cool.
Trunks, that craziness. So we've had some really good finds and some, really crappy finds. But
well, that's the luck of the...
yeah.
That's the nature
of fun business.
That's very cool, though. So we met through a Facebook group, and I've been lucky enough to participate in your blog, Character Witness, twice. What inspired you to create the character blog?
Well, I think a lot of us create these amazing characters, and we fall into their world. Like I consider it being in their world when I'm writing. Like right now, I've been stuck in Lucy's world and doing the Aquarius and Time book. And sometimes you don't want to put them away when you're done. You want to put more out about them. You want to share more. You want to intrigue people to want to know more about them. Maybe come back and read the book if they haven't. So I started it for kind of my own benefit, and then found out that there was a lot of writers that felt the same way I did, and they wanted to share their characters, especially the really intense ones that got under their skin. So it's been fun. I've got to actually take a couple from some of the, like I loved Chrissy Daniels' Truck Stop series. I don't know if you've read that. It's really kind of gritty, and she kind of has a lot of hardcore characters as well that are damaged. And I was thrilled when she agreed to do the interview for me. It's kind of like meeting your rock stars a little bit when you love to read, and then you get to meet these these people that have written the books that really made you want to write. So
yeah,
it's fun.
I completely understand that. I know the amazing feeling is to see your work available in print. What was it like the first time you saw the evolution of Pink Kitty?
Oh, well, the first one that came out when they were 2 separate books, it was rough for me. I loved it. I was so excited, but I used a shitty Amazon cover at first, and I had paid somebody to edit and put it out there for me, and I made the mistake that a lot of newbies do and let them put it out there when it wasn't ready. I mean, there were mistakes in it.
Right here. Right here. I have 80-something copies of a screw-up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was really bad, to be honest. It was not edited properly. There were a lot of grammatic errors in it, and I was devastated when I got like a 1-star rating. But I mean, I was so proud to have my book and my picture and my name, and it was like, yay, it's me. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's me. It's got my name on it. So I had to. That's you live and you learn. And I was a newbie, and it was my mistake for not checking it myself before I put it out there. So I've learned who to trust, who not to trust. You get what you pay for, and if you pay $20 for an editor on Fiverr, you're going to get chances are a shitty editor.
Yeah.
So I learned, but I mean, still, just seeing your name on a book is the most incredible feeling in the world when you've grown up loving books as much as I have.
I was fortunate, even though I made screw-ups, I didn't get bad. I only got a 3-star review. That was the worst I got. But I've only had like a handful of them. a handful of reviews. So the one good thing about being an ebook form is you can go in there and change it easily.
Yes, it's the print ones because they're never leaving.
No. So it's like I said, I got 98 books or 89 books of The Mistake downstairs. And my husband's like, what are we going to do with these? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, do you want to just give them away? I'm like, no, because then they're out in the world.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
So, no.
I think about that. I think about someday I'm going to be going to a thrift store or something, or the Salvation Army, and my book is going to be on the shelf. And I don't know if I'm going to be happy about that or not. I mean, I kind of will be because it meant somebody loved it and bought it. But no, it's at the Salvation Army. You know, I'm probably going to buy it back. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. It's just, it would be, okay, yeah, you have to come back home with me now. So what do you like to do when you're not writing besides reading?
Well, I live on the Gulf, so we spend a lot of time on the water. You know, it's jet skis and fishing. You know, that's kind of my latest one. I've really been into exploring the state of Florida. I've only been here a couple years. I was originally born in upstate New York. I lived in North Carolina for a while. So some days we like to just get in the car and drive around the back roads. You know, we've gone down to the Everglades. You know, they have a Sasquatch museum there, by the way, if you're ever down in the Everglades. Yeah, good times. You know, it's a great place to explore because it's so jungly when you get out in some of these places. So.
Yeah.
It's a cool state, and we've gone to, you know, New Orleans, and, you know, it's like 8 hours to New Orleans and to Virginia. There's so much you can check out, you know, drive around.
I grew up in New Orleans, and we used to take an annual trip to Disney.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Middle of the night leave from New Orleans to get to Disney during the morning, so yeah. Or the next day, but yeah. Been there, done that many a times.
A couple times, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So what type of things inspire you?
I think people inspire me a lot. I am forever people watching. I've been known to snap pictures of people who inspire me with my phone and just keep them, you know, I don't put them out there, but, you know, the last time we were in New Orleans, it happened to be last Labor Day weekend. It was Pride weekend. So there was a lot of characters out in general, but there was a group protesting Pride Week, and then there was a protester protesting Pride Week. And he had this amazing sign he was holding up, and he was yelling over the top of them, and it said something like, incite anarchy, you know, support your local sex workers, you know, hang a politician in a public square. It was awesome, but he was like shirtless, and he had a big fleur-de-lis tattoo, so you know he was local, and he had a mohawk, and it was just, you know, he's going to be a character in my next book. He is already a character. With a lot of characters, you know, Florida is full of, you know, Florida man. You know, I come in contact with a lot of crazy people. In fact, I'm working on a series that is totally built around Florida crazy. It's called Second Chance of Love and the Sunny Days Trailer Park. And it is all like 50 and over romance because, hey, why not? It's steamy, it's hot, everybody has a crazy backstory because we all have one, you know. Yeah. One was, you know, an 80s rock star who got caught lip syncing. You know, we all have those backstories. Oh, yeah. We all have who we used to be, and now we're older and wiser, and we're not those people anymore. So, I mean, it's going to be a whole series. I've got 3 done and 3 ready. So.
Very cool. When is that going to be coming out?
I'm hopeful by fall at this point, and you know, one thing at a time. But I really like to get those started. So.
Very cool. So what does your writing process look like? You know, do you have candles, music? You just go in a room and get to the keyboard? Do you have
I have chaos. I have chaos. You know, where I'm at right now, even though I'm drywall, is my living room. We got a little crazy during quarantine and decided to re-drywall everything, and now we haven't finished it. I have a view of the Gulf of Mexico from my window. I have a Chihuahua by my ass, and I have either coffee or iced tea. And then I ask Alexa to play music that kind of coincides with what I'm writing. So for months, I've been listening to 60s acid rock and folk music. So that's fun. Trying to wrap your head around some of this music and then make it come out in your head and put you in the place where you need to be to get the writing done. So music, I find, is a huge influence. But eventually I would like an office with a desk, but right now I don't have one of those. We don't have room for it. So instead I have a spot on the couch with my laptop, and I zone out the world. It drives my boyfriend crazy. He'll be talking to me and I'll be like, mm-hmm. No idea what he said. None at all. So it's kind of chaotic. The dog's barking, people knocking at the door. It doesn't faze me at all. It's from raising daughters.
I mean, and when you're a writer, you have to stay in the zone. I mean, you have to be there because otherwise you lose your train of thought.
Yep. And that's it. I think I try to get as much out as I can. I used to try to make every line perfect as I was going. And over time, I learned it's easier for me to just keep going. If I get the dialogue out, I can go back later and add she said, or, but the expressions or the emotions, I just need to get it all out first.
Exactly. So are you a pantser or a plotter?
I am a pantser. I can't plot. Although I have lately changed my strategy, and if I start it and then I finish it, then all I have to do is get them from point A to point B.
Okay.
Because sometimes they don't end up where you want them to be, or they end up with their own voice. I don't know if I'm the only one that hears them.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So, yeah. I start writing and get into it, and maybe they take me on a different path, So I create really amazing, strong characters who are very damaged in some way, and then they meet, and then we see what happens. So.
Yeah, if I wake up and one of the characters pops in my head, I cannot go back to sleep. I don't care what time it is. They will not let me go back to sleep. They will pop up whenever, and yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're not the only one. You're not the only one.
Yeah, I think it's my ADD. I think I've always known I had a little ADD, and now I'm sure of it.
So what books or authors have most influenced your own writing?
I love all books. I really do. My favorite book of all time is The Count of Monte Cristo, which was written in 1700, something like that. But lately, I've been reading a lot more modern stuff. I kind of got into a biker phase for a lot. I love Scott Hildreth. I don't know who's read Scott and who hasn't, but he also writes very damaged people, a lot of biker books. And it's interesting because it's romance from a male perspective, which is not as far off as you would imagine from a female perspective. So it's interesting to read his stuff. So many of them that I've been able to interview on my blog or now are my Facebook friends. I still get giddy over things like that when Aaron Trejo or, somebody sends me a message. I'm like, yay, I'm a cool kid.
I understand. I totally get it.
Yeah, I love to read. I've always been a bookworm, so it's just been a wonderful experience to meet so many and discover so many new genres that I never thought about before.
Well, that's the one thing about indie publishing is it's opened up a whole new world, because before you had certain niches, and now whatever.
Somebody out there loves it, and somebody will read it. If it's a dinosaur,
I was gonna say back to dino porn.
Back to dino porn. That's right.
Do you have a favorite type of music or artist?
I'm still an 80s girl. Class of 85. Woo! I still love my 80s music a lot. And then I kind of got into some country along the way, but not all of it, just some of it. But yeah, probably 80s rock is still my thing.
So who was your go-to band in the 80s?
Oh, I had so many. I saw Prince during the Purple Rain tour. I loved Prince. I was heartbroken when he left this world.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the heavy metal, like we were supposed to go see Bret Michaels just when the virus hit. I was devastated that I wasn't going to get to see acoustic Bret Michaels. But, you know, I saw so many great bands along the way. I saw Bruce, I saw Def Leppard, I saw Billy Idol a couple of times. You know, it's just...
He just did an interview with John Taylor last week from Duran Duran. And he's like,
oh, really?
Billy Idol's like 65 now and a grandpa. And it's like, it's just so, you know, you always think of Billy as, no.
Yeah. I saw him not long before I left New York. There was a venue where they had like a lot of, you know, I don't want to say has been, how about over their prime. So I saw Blondie there and I saw Billy Idol there. Cool. And he was, I would say late 50s at the time, because it was a good maybe 12 years ago. And he was still amazing in concert.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, and he said in an interview that he was still doing the same thing. He just wasn't as high while he was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, well, we're not as high while we're listening to it, so it's okay. You know.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you don't think about the fact that, you know, when you hear that like they're 60 or 65, you're like, oh my gosh, well wait, you're not 17 anymore. You know, you're not 18. Yeah. So there's that big trade off. Were you into Motley Crue?
I did some Motley Crue, yeah, and you know what? I went to high school with the drummer for Cinderella.
Oh, cool.
Fred cool. Corey was in my driver's ed class.
I was gonna say, if you haven't read it, read Nikki Sixx's bio.
Oh, I haven't read the bio.
You want Damaged? Read the Heroin Diaries.
Yeah.
The Heroin Diaries will make you go, no. Some girls will just do anything to anybody at any time. But yeah, it's...
I knew a few of those girls, so...
Well, there's one thing in there where he's like, he hasn't showered in 8 days, he doesn't have any toilet paper, and he's heavily drugged up and stuff, and he's still doing it. And I'm just like, no!
Ew, yeah.
Exactly. Ew, there's... no.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's an interesting read to look into his mind and see what's going on during that time. So if you like heavy metal and stuff, that would be definitely a book I think you should check out. Because my library had it.
Yeah. I've been away from biography for a while. I kind of go on biography benders.
Yeah, I can see that. I can. So let's see. Trapped on an Island, what's on your iPod? Music, movies, TV show, besides book and pen and paper, what do you need to entertain yourself?
Probably a bunch of episodes of stuff from the History Channel or the Food Channel. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I'm going to say, you know, when I do turn it on, I either watch Chopped or Guy's Grocery Game. I'm also really addicted to that Mystery of Oak Island show on History Channel. I keep praying they're going to find something, you know, but they never really find the treasure. But, you know, we're hoping this year. Maybe some old movies. I really, honestly, a lot of people say, oh, I don't watch TV. I really don't. I watch a few things. I watch, like, The Voice, and NCIS, and maybe a few random cop shows, and I mostly use it for background noise while I read or write. So I just need a pile of books on my Kindle, and I'm ready to go anywhere.
I used to write with Law and Order on the background. I'm writing rock fiction, and Law and Order is in the background. Okay.
Well, we had access. A friend of ours, our landlord, owned a stilt house, and there's not too many stilt houses left off of the coast. There's maybe 6 or 8 out here, and it's literally a house built on pylons about 1.5 miles, 2 miles off the coast that the fishermen used back in the day to tie their boats off. So it's like a shack on pylons, and we would go out for the weekend, and I called it saltwater camping. I would literally take my laptop, and he would fish, and I would write, and it's nothing. I mean, there's no Wi-Fi, so there's no research, there's no people calling you to annoy you. You just, that's it. You've got the sea, the waves, the birds, and it was like being on a desert island. I miss it, but sadly he sold it, so somebody else is enjoying it.
We used to have those off of Lake Pontchartrain, and we would call them camps. So
yeah.
And
yeah, they have like fish camps out there. It's the same idea, just in the Gulf and not in the swamp. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I think after Katrina, a lot of those got wiped out. So
yeah.
But that was a whole different way of life when you look at it, because there's not much in there at all. Usually it was a big room with a bathroom and a kitchen, and that was about it.
That was pretty much what this is. Yeah, it's a shack. You know, I had a gas grill out there, so we barbecue, and, you know, it had you switch it if you wanted to use the stove. You'd switch the gas to the stove, and you could fry some eggs. But, yeah, there was nothing. No heat, no air, no fans, no nothing.
So, do you have a favorite movie of all time?
Probably I'm going to say Princess Bride. All time. Me and my girls have seen it like a million times. League of Their Own, maybe. Star Wars, because I'm a nerd. You know.
Of course.
Those kind of things.
So what are you currently reading?
Oh, what did I just finish? Wait a minute. Kindle. Let's see what I just finished.
It's the Mingo book.
Because sometimes I forget what I've read. So this is what's on my Kindle. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I just finished. Oh, Tana Stone's Savage, a sci-fi alien warrior romance. I was kind of feeling the aliens lately.
Okay.
So I just finished that series. They were okay. Oh, and then J.R. Ward had The Sinner came out not too long ago, and the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and I just finished that one as well.
Okay. Cool.
Can't see it, but that one was really good. I really love the Black Dagger Brotherhood, so who doesn't love a big warrior vampire with a sword?
Jason Momoa, yeah.
I love Jason Momoa.
He would make a good vampire, yeah.
Yeah.
You had posted recently, this was I think it's about 2 weeks, that somebody had pirated your books, and that sent me on a chase too, which then the Authors Guild got involved too before I even mentioned it to them. But apparently what's going on is they're stealing covers. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think it's a service for readers, because they think they're going to get a book for free.
Yeah.
And what they're going to get is either a virus or they're going to lose their personal information, because all these people have are the book covers. They actually have one of my books that I have a mock cover up on Goodreads. They actually have it. The book says it's not available till late 2020. They have that as a bestseller.
Yeah, mine say bestseller or hot bestseller or hot.
And they took one of my friends' names from Goodreads, who I'm also friends off of Goodreads, and created a fake review. Just with stars.
It seems like such a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, they put a lot of work into this website. But, I mean, I know they're stealing.
Well, and then the thing is, you, me, a couple other authors I know, the Authors Guild, we're all trying to get this taken down. And guess what? There's 2 more sites that's popped up doing the same thing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're a reader and you are looking for our books for free, that's not the way to do it, because you're going to end up getting yourself hurt. So either pay for the book on Amazon, look for when it's on sale, or reach out and talk to the author.
Yeah. A lot, and that's, a lot of times I would be more than happy to send it to your Kindle for free if you really want to read it and say you can't afford it. I did that a lot during the virus when everybody was stuck at home and nobody had any money,
Yeah.
Just leave me a review. Tell me what you think. ARC read. Sign up at Booksprout to be an ARC reader.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to get books for free if you don't have any money, And you don't even have to leave your house and go to the library.
Right. And I mean, and then you're not risking your financial future because somebody has stolen your identity. Or giving your computer a virus where they're going to end up locking your computer and you're going to have to pay ransomware. So I guess that's why I bring this up, is because you're the one that mentioned this. And my husband actually laughed. He's like, well, I guess you've made it. Somebody's using your books. I'm like, at the time, before I knew the full picture, I'm like, how dare they copy my books? But the truth is they didn't. It's just a scam.
But in the same note, you don't want a reader to come back on you and say it's because I downloaded your book that I got this virus.
Exactly. And that's why you fight so hard to try to get them taken down. But I mean, it's very much problematic. And you reach out to Google and ask Google to take it down, and cricket. You get no response. Right. So as an author, it's kind of a hard process. And you want to protect your readers because, like you said, you don't want them coming back at you going, well, why did you do this to me? I didn't do anything. So anyway, now that we've devolved, I'm going back to the interview. If you could choose 3 people to invite to dinner, who would it be and what would you serve?
I think, let's see, I had time to think about this, thank God. This is hard. I want somebody there who would be interesting. Mm-hmm. And probably that could do the cooking. So I'm gonna go Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
Fascinating. Not afraid to say what's on his mind. It's so hard. Pink.
Okay.
I love her, and she's not afraid to say what's on her mind. We're gonna have some fascinating conversation. And maybe Jeffrey Dean Morgan, depending on my mood, him or, because he's eye candy. So it's hard. I would change my mind like every day. I would probably come up with another list for this one. But right now, for those 3.
What would you want Mr. Ramsay to serve?
Well, he makes some fascinating things. I saw him make a seafood dish on a TV show somewhere that had like scallops in it. Except, of course, when he says it with a British accent, they sound so much more appetizing.
Oh, yes, definitely. Scallops, darling.
Yeah, they're not the ones we pull, we go scalloping down here in Florida in the rivers in the summer. So something involving seafood, definitely. And some really good wine, and then something super fruity, fancy dessert.
Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Oh, hell. I will say eclectic.
Okay.
I mean, some days I feel like elderly is a good choice.
I think we all, gotta kind of deal with that.
Some days I'm feeling my years lately. Unique. I really try not to be run-of-the-mill like everybody else. I don't know. Old.
Well, you bring up, but you bring up a good point. I mean, it's like, okay, so you and I are roughly the same age. You're still looking at life like, yeah, I can do this. My husband and I, we did some gardening this weekend, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna be able to do this, this, and this. We did like half of that, and he's like, he's still. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And he's like, well, he's still. I look at it this way. It's kind of like, okay, so when you hit a certain age, whether it's 40, 50, 60, whatever, you hit that age and you still have this mentality of what I could do when I was in my 30s or what I could do when I was in my 20s. Somehow you've forgotten that time has passed.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and that's, that's kind of where I'm at, like right now. We started these projects. I was still an essential employee. But I was working like half the time, only like 4 days a week. So we were, because there's 5 of us in a small office, and they didn't want us crossing paths as much. Right. So social distancing, blah, blah, blah. So I was home for like 3 or 4 days out of the week. So I'd start these projects. And then for this, start the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, it's hot. I'm tired. It's Florida. So even in March, it's 90 degrees.
Right.
And, I started refinishing furniture. We started drywalling. We started sanding. It's like, it's too hot. So we still have not completed the drywall on this wall yet, but I'm hoping to get it done someday, soon.
Well,
hopefully.
I mean, it's like, my husband was like, well, I said, so we need to change the ceiling fan out. Yep, we do. Okay. How long do you think it's going to take? Maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
5-10 minutes actually is code. No, 5 or 10 minutes is code for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
I know that.
when you're younger and 20, you can hold your hands above your head for no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But holding your arms with a weight in it for any amount of time, especially when you have a neck issue, is not a good thing at all.
No, no.
So,
And they, it's just, I've got carpal tunnel syndrome from working a keyboard my whole life into sand. After a while, the ache kind of comes in.
mm-hmm.
You got a little arthritis in this knuckle right here.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, maybe we should do this tomorrow. Let's go get a pizza or something.
Uh-huh. I mean, yesterday I was doing some cleaning and I'm like, okay, I'm going to, in the afternoon when it gets cooler, we'll go out and finish planting. By 4 o'clock, both of us were like, I'm tired. I don't want to.
Let's see what's on TV. Let's take a break,
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to bite off more than I can chew on these projects. And then you have to work around the heat. The Florida heat is crazy. So, I have a cedar chest outside on the carport that I need to finish. But when it's 97 degrees, there's no way I'm going to be out there hand sanding that.
No.
So it's going to sit there for a little while.
There's no way I can be outside. Heat and I are not friends. Hence why I live in Illinois.
I'm all day. I mean, in my job, I'm in and out of the truck. I get out to do inspections. I'm in people's yards. I'm in weeds up over my knees and things like that. And it's hot. And by the time I get home.
Ever had a snake come at you while you're in the weeds?
Thank God, no, because I'm terrified of snakes. That's kind of a running joke. I hate snakes. I actually wear boots to work because I sometimes wear sneakers, but I'm really scared of the day that the snake does cross my foot. So, I mean, I've been in condemned houses with, needles all over the floor or whatever, and that doesn't bother me to the extent that someday a snake is going to cross my path. So
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. So you have quite a few books that should be out. You have one coming out in August, and then you have maybe at least 2 more coming out this year.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, I get the golden age. I really think it's kind of an important group to represent because I'm over 50. You're over 50. There's no reason that over 50 can't have some romance and some good nookie. So. I'm going to put it out there. Even I see down here, people, the one bar that we go to on a Sunday afternoon for some day drinking, it's like, the singles club in there. There's always one guy who's, kind of, how can I put it? Maybe he's a little younger or fitter than the rest, and all the ladies go crazy for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know the
type. The meat market is 60, 70 years old. And, it gets crazy in the trailer parks where, there's 5 women to 1 man. So I want to make sure they're represented. With some little gold. I mean, there's nothing wrong with some granny nookies. So.
Think about statistics, I guess, about 5, maybe 10 years ago now, how they were saying STDs were so prevalent in the nursing homes because Granny and Grandpa were getting it.
We're still getting it, yeah.
So
my dad was in an assisted living facility for a while before he passed away, and those old ladies would buy him cookies. Oh, come on, Larry, let's share lunch together. Or, I got some cookies. And my dad was. Had Alzheimer's at the time, but a cookie, man, he was there. Okay, he had no thought other than there was a cookie.
Let's think about this cookie, nookie.
Cookie or cookie, exactly. So these women know what they're doing, and they're fighting over these men. So I think it's maybe an area that hasn't been touched on enough. That there's a lot of still vital men and women out there who are looking for love. So. I'm going to go there.
I think you should. I mean, I know personally my dad, he was pretty much a player most of his life. So, yeah. And until even in 2005, he was still kind of a player. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I would definitely say.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it's received and if I find a niche for it. If there's enough ladies 50 and up that really want to read this. So we'll see what happens.
I think there will be. I mean, because unless they're still buying into the fantasy. That's something, the discussion about, I talked to another author about this, that, because I write rock star stuff. Rock stars don't cheat. Come on, really? Really? But it's more the fantasy aspect. I mean, that's the only, they're either going to embrace this. I mean, if you can write it where it's a lovely fantasy and there's still some romance, then sure, it'll work. It'll work. But I like my books to have, like you, a little damage in it, a little realism, and that's where, that might be the harder sell.
Right. Just some realism built in there. It's not all. So the ones I can't stand are the like billionaire romance sweeps the waitress off her feet. Now she has a mansion. I'm more of a realist, I suppose. I like the actual possibility of this occurring. Yeah. I mean, not to say that a millionaire isn't going to sweep a waitress off her feet, but the chances are slim to none.
Well, and talking about the 50 Shades of Grey, if you reframe 50 Shades of Grey, it's not exact. He's a stalker. He's a rich stalker.
Yeah, I hated 50 Shades, to be honest.
I watched the movies. I tried reading the books once, or one of the books, and I couldn't. But kudos to her because she found an audience.
I'm hearing all of a sudden a ton of static and echo on you here. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. You're not breaking up now, but you were breaking up a minute ago.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me, if it's you, if one of us.
It could just be Facebook because last time I did one of these, or just chatting with somebody in one of these rooms, it kept glitching and locking up. So, technology, as great as it is, it can be a problem. So
that is true.
Well, pretty much, is there anything that you'd like to add that I missed?
Well, I'm thankful for the opportunity to put some out there about Lotus. I can't wait till next week when it really hits. I was so excited today. I've gotten 7 of my ARC reviews back. I did a book sprout, and they've all been 4 and 5 stars. So, I'm really excited. That's probably the best response I've gotten through book sprout. I don't know if you've ever done a book sprout, but it gives you an opportunity to give away 20 copies of your book in exchange for an honest review. Usually I get 2, 3, maybe. And this time I'm up to 7, and it still hasn't even launched. So I'm very excited. They're mostly 5 stars. I think I'm at 4.6 stars altogether. So I'm getting good feedback. The sword crossing didn't faze anybody. So that seems to be good. So just the opportunity to put it out there and say, hey, I'm check this out.
That's awesome. Well, I thank you for sitting down with me and taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
I will, hopefully maybe we'll do this again when you have more releases, because obviously you're going to have more releases and we'll have different questions. So if I invite you back, you want to come back?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I thank you, and I hope your launch is a success, and I hope you have some great success with the other books you launched this year. And thanks again.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you too. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.